Passionate Living, scheduled to air at this time, will be back next week so we can present a special big picture program that Passionate Living host Catherine Miller hosted with the former Executive Director of the Wellness Institute of Greater Buffalo and Healthy Communities 2030, Philip Haberstro. Phil lost his brave battle with cancer, but will always be remembered as a champion for the people of Western New York. Everyone at WBBZ-TV extends our sympathies to his wife Bonnie, his family, and many friends.
Thank you for joining us today on this special edition of The Big Picture as a tribute to our hometown hero, Phil Haberstro. I'm blessed to have known Phil since the mid-90s when we were both hometown health and wellness warriors in Western New York. The work that Phil has done over these last 3 decades in lifting the consciousness of Erie County in the realms of wellness is just immeasurable. He will be missed as the beautiful person that he was to all of us who knew him in this world, and for the extraordinary work he did in Western New York. I want to send condolences to Phil's family and friends in the community, and we have a few more people today who would also like to share their condolences.
So Phil Havestro, that goes back a long ways, back in the late 80s with Phil, because I was playing football with him back with the Geminis. And we became really good friends back then. He taught me a lot of stuff because he was a little bit older than I was. I was being new to the whole thing in the football league. And ever since then, I've been very good friends with Phil up until his passing, and we will miss him considerably.
I'm John DeSciullo at WBBZ. Phil Haberstro was one of the first people in Western New York to recognize that Buffalo is an all-America city, and he helped spearhead that campaign, and for that we're forever grateful. And I also remember a great event he chaired many years ago for the late Lou Billatier, owner of Chef's Restaurant, recognizing him. He had a great love for this community, and we have a great love that will remain for Phil Haberstro, and our sympathies and our best to his family.
Welcome to The Big Picture. I'm Catherine Miller, sitting in for Phil Arnaud, who's on assignment. One of my favorite areas of interest is health and wellness. For me, the wellness path began at the age of 12, when I worked each day after school at my mom's jewelry, health food, and psychic store in the 70s. I love the excitement of new products on our shelves and the possibility of healing someone with nothing more than the energy from our own hands. But I was born an open-minded skeptic. In other words, I was open to exploring new or unconventional ways of doing things, but I wanted to see evidence and results. To some extent, that put me at odds with the world of health and wellness in my own mind, as I lumped it all in with the psychic healing realms of tarot cards and readings and energy healing, which I had held some judgment about. By the time I hit college, I was starving for the mainstream, and I ended up with a 5-year biology degree. What stunned me was a strange phenomenon that I hadn't expected. Many of the seemingly fringe beliefs that I was raised with were actually supported by scientific study. They just spoke different languages, but oftentimes were saying the very same thing. The unique merging of these two views provided a logical explanation for many of the integrative healing therapies I'd seen growing up. This led me to get even more involved in this intriguing world of wellness. So I founded a magazine called Holistic Health Journal, which boasted a review board of well-known MDs and authors such as Deepak Chopra, Bernie Siegel, Hyla Cass, and many more. It started right here in Western New York, and eventually it grew into a widely respected publication found in every major book chain in the US and Canada. I eventually moved to Los Angeles and took health and wellness into the world of television. So fast forward 20-some years, and like a true Buffalonian, I moved back home for family. I was surprised that since the time of launching Holistic Health Journal, the wellness level of Western New York has done very little to improve. Out of 62 counties in the state of New York, Erie County ranks number 56. My guest today is a man who spent the last 3 decades as a wellness warrior in our fine town and is passionate about bringing greater levels of awareness to healthy living in Western New York. He's a personal hero of mine, as he's dedicated his life to increasing our levels of awareness in the realms of health and wellness. And that brings us to our guest today, Phil Havestro, the Executive Director of the Wellness Institute here in Buffalo, New York. Welcome to the show, Phil.
Catherine, it's great to be here. Thank you.
How did you find your way into the realms of health and wellness? What was your journey into this field?
I think it's pretty simple. We kid people, my family in Buffalo, they've been here since about 1826,
Wow.
and they were gunsmiths and brewers. So I think it was pretty natural for me to go into the health and wellness field. But on the more serious side, an athlete when I was young, SUNY Brockport for college. I studied physical education, sports science there. Worked up at the college for about 8 years. When I came back to Buffalo, went downtown, worked at the Buffalo Athletic Club, which is now a private club. Did fitness programs for people there, Catherine. I think I did like 1,000 different fitness programs for people. Yeah, I was eventually the program director. But I left there in '83, and I started my first company, a little firm, Buffalo Fitness Consulting. You know, I had a business card. And
you were official, you had your card.
Yeah. And I went out and started knocking on doors with organizations in our community that might be interested in, and they didn't even call it that back then, employee wellness.
Right.
So I went from people to organizations, and during that journey, a very fine young friend of mine, John Giordino, who was a prominent attorney here in our community for many years, he and I were always kibitzing about how we could improve the quality of life in our community. And we decided, with his help, we founded the Wellness Institute of Greater Buffalo in 1989. So this fall, we'll be celebrating our 30th anniversary. I would say to your viewers that a lot of folks don't hear about us because we do a lot of things behind the scenes, but when you ride in and out of Buffalo and you see those signs, "Welcome to Buffalo, an all-America city," that was a civic initiative that we got involved with, and we helped the community to win those awards. And so in a summary sense, I now spend most of my time working at the community level. And if you look at it from a marketing standpoint, the physical activity that can reach the most people and goes through the lifespan is walking.
Right.
So in order for us to make a strategic decision about where to focus efforts in that direction, we decided to put it on walking of Western New York walks.
Right.
And the idea is to go out, and we just held a summit this past June.
That's great.
We were hosted by the people at the Buffalo Grand Hotel, did a wonderful job. And we brought 2 national speakers, one from Canada and one from the United States, to come and talk about how you can make communities more walkable, more walk-friendly. So that's one way to get at physical activity. If you look at the literature, you know, I just saw some data from New York State ranking the state relative to overweight and obesity, and just about 6 out of 10 New Yorkers are either overweight or obese. So regular physical activity is one of the antidotes to help manage weight.
And walking is such a simple solution because it takes so little. You don't need a whole gym set up in your house. You can just walk outside your door, especially when Western New York, this weather is beautiful as it is now.
And you know, you talk about the winter thing, and one of the projects we're also involved in is the city of Buffalo was there was 62 applicants for a major national grant, which was funded by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. And Buffalo was one of the cities selected. 3 out of 62 were selected, and it's called Winter Mission. And we're working with the city on that right now. And the idea there, Catherine, is to increase activities in the winter months.
That's wonderful.
But also to reduce social isolation. And that's kind of brings you to the mental health side of what we do.
Right, that's wonderful. I know even here in the mall where we are, the Eastern Hills Mall, it's all winter long we have mall walkers. It's so simple just to go somewhere and
I'll
heat it inside
I'll give you
and take a little walk.
Little fun point, you know, a lot of the work I do is public policy, and so I used to follow Robin Schiminger around the mall over at,
that's great.
at the other place. He and I are classmates from O'Hara, but it's one way to meet people, and there's a social side to that too.
Well, I want to talk a little bit more about the wellness level of Western New York as soon as we get back from this break.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Phil, there were very few things you loved more than your chocolate chip cookies, talking about dogs, and creating a team of Irish people. But one thing you did love more than those was connecting people and building social capital in our community. You made Western New York and the world a healthier, happier place. And you are missed and you are loved.
Phil Havestro was my friend. We met at the Buffalo Athletic Club. He was my mentor. We worked on complete streets legislation on the Buffalo Common Council. He was my partner with the Healthy District Initiative and of course with the Clerks Wellness Collaborative. He was an advocate for change for the community. He saved lives on a daily basis. And as Phil would always say, be well, my friend. I love you, bud.
Hey, Senator Tim Kennedy here. Just wanted to take the opportunity to recognize Phil Havestro for his contributions to our community over so many years. We are certainly going to miss Phil. We are forever indebted to him and everything that he has done for all of us in our community. We will truly miss him, and my deepest condolences to his entire family during this very difficult and trying time. Our thoughts and prayers are certainly with you.
The Lord has called my mentor, my pal, my inspiration, Phil Haberstro. Let's keep his vision alive of making Western New York a walkable community by donating $30, $1 for every year since he founded the Institute. Go to www.creatinghealthycommunities.org and donate now to keep the Institute thriving.
Phil will be missed. Anytime I ever did any festival, he was always there, guiding me on the healthy aspects of what to do and who should be a part of it, and kind of the state of affairs of what the latest and greatest of health was, as far as walkability, how we should be taking care of ourselves, and basically getting Buffalo up to speed as a healthy city, which is obviously so important. And what Phil did to basically boost the city health-wise, we could never have had anybody do anything remotely the way he did it, to the extent he did it, and with the zeal and the love and the fun that he brought to the table, which always made it a delight to work with him.
Welcome back to The Big Picture. Phil, I want to talk with you a little bit about the wellness level of Western New Yorkers. I was mentioning in my opening that out of 62 counties in New York State, we're number 56 on the wellness level. I mean, I guess when I went out west and I came back, you know, I know we're having this renaissance in Buffalo and so many wonderful things are happening here, but one of the areas where we really need to work on ourselves as Western New Yorkers is in health. Right.
We spend more per person than any developed nation in the world, and so they call this the value equation. You may know this, your viewers understand. You go out and buy something, if you pay top dollar for it, you expect to get the most value out of it. We're not getting the most value out of our health system. Right. We don't get health. We have great treatment and cure. You get sick, you go to a hospital, we're probably the best in the world at that. But on the other side of the ledger, in terms of the prevention and health promotion side, we're grossly underfunded. Of every dollar that's spent in the trillions that are spent on health, about 95 cents of every dollar is spent on the treatment and cure side, and only 5 cents. So part of our challenge in our work that we do to be a healthy city, a healthy community, is to look to ways that we can integrate access to comprehensive health promotion. If you're a business, if you're an employer and you say, I have an employee wellness program, I'm pleased to hear that. But if your program is just a health fair once a year, that's not going to change the culture of your organization.
And that's where the solution lies, is in the education. I mean, so often I feel that going back to the roots, our grandparents, everything was fresh food. They cooked it from scratch. It wasn't fast food. It wasn't prepared. It wasn't in a can or a box on a shelf somewhere that might have been irradiated. And they walked. We didn't drive everywhere. We didn't sit at a computer all day. And sitting has really become the new smoking.
It wasn't, it wasn't an auto-centric society, as the phrase goes.
Now, what would be, if you could choose one top hit list for something in Western New York, for anyone watching the show, that we can focus on to make a change in our community that would immediately raise us from 56 to maybe 55.
I suppose you know, there's again two sides to answer that question. One is the personal side, and that's for persons to make that personal choice. And I would put it simply in with the physical activity side. I think that's available to the people through the lifespan. You can walk at any place, anytime for low cost. On the other side of the ledger, to the societal side, things that we can do that make our parks and our communities more walkable and bicycle friendly and those kinds of things, collectively that could help us. It's not the full solution, but you wanted a short term and around the corner piece, and certainly any of your viewers that are interested in that, they can contact me at the Wellness Institute. We have toolkits for walking clubs. We have toolkits for assessing walkability in your neighborhood, and we're happy to share those.
And that is one of the biggest issues I see in the elderly in our society in this day and age, is that oftentimes they'll sit in a room with a television on and not be as active. And I ran into a woman the other day, it was remarkable. A friend of mine owns a yoga studio, and he walked up and gave her a big hug, and vibrant, she's out, you know, at Wegmans shopping, driving, and she could do any yoga pose that anyone in the class could do. And we walked away, and he said, how old do you think she is? I said, maybe 70. He said, she's 90 years old. She gets up every morning at 4 a.m., she meditates, she comes at 7 a.m., and she does yoga every single day. And I think it's just staying active. If you don't move it, you lose it.
And that's
to
beautiful
some extent.
too, because you're pointing out things like yoga and Tai Chi that are age-friendly for older adults. And we're not expecting people to go out and run marathons or even 5Ks. If the science tells us that if you can accumulate about 30 minutes of moderate physical activity most days of the week, that's going to have health benefits for you. So we're not that far away from being a healthier community, but again, it takes advocacy, it takes people stepping up to the plate. You know, if your neighborhood isn't walkable, if the sidewalks or the streets need street lights repaired, those are things that citizens, block club groups, and those can get corrected, which will make their neighborhood safer and more walkable. So part of our world is coaching people on these things, understanding that.
I was just going to ask, can people reach out to the Wellness Institute and ask her advice when they...
Well, and not only ask for advice, but we want to learn from them. What's working, what's interesting. It's always, I think, to both of our benefits to have a two-way dialogue, as you and I are today. You know, so what's your secret, Catherine? It's my turn to ask a question. You know,
years ago when I was publishing Holistic Health Journal, I had a conversation with a doctor who wrote a book on longevity, and he said 3 major things that we often miss that really help to extend quality of life. Activity, stretching, especially stretching, because we lose our flexibility, then we lose our balance as we get older. Taking omega fatty acids, very important. We don't often get enough of those, and especially in Western New York, we don't get enough vitamin D, which is important to supplement with. And finally, drinking enough water.
Ah.
And a lot of times people think, well, I'll just have a Pepsi, I'll have a glass of juice, and that doesn't hydrate the body. There's a lot of sugar. Juice has as much sugar as sodas do oftentimes. And so you want to actually have water, or tea is another form of hydrating yourself.
Okay.
But
well,
those were
that's
his
it,
three.
folks. You got
three
Catherine's
pieces
secrets,
of advice
to do
and
that.
I've lived by those ever since.
What
about you?
I'd add another fun one, and that's socialization.
Yes.
There's a concept in the science literature called social capital, and that's the levels of trust and norms of reciprocity that exist among people and in communities. And Robert Putnam from Harvard University is the American guru on this topic, but there's really good evidence if socialization is a resource for health. And so even as you get older and meeting new people, you know, and maybe sometimes getting out of the old rut is a thing, but go to a yoga class, like you said, because good yoga instructors will bring you along slowly, and the benefits will accrue over time. And that's probably another piece, is a little bit of patience.
Yeah.
You know, that works for all of us.
Thank you so much for being a guest on our show.
Yeah.
As I say, I've just admired you for years, and I'm so grateful that you're still doing this in the community.
Me too.
Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us today on The Big Picture, and we hope to see you next week.
This is my own little tribute to Phil Haberstro. Phil, I've known you for I guess almost 25 years, and every time I brought something to you, you found a way to make it physically active and healthy for individuals. I did a loft tour 8 years ago and started that, and you were a part of that just by making it a bicycle tour from place to place. Then when I came along and told you about Retree, you found a way to keep the people active that were planting the trees and make it a whole healthy exercise. And then this past summer, when I was looking to do a thing for kids that are not well connected to the internet, there you were, Phil, helping me to find funding for it, and also including a physical activity, so that 3 of the classes were actually physical activities for kids that were quarantined at home or couldn't actually go to school to learn directly from their teachers. So Phil, this is a tribute to you. I have appreciated all that you've done for me and for the community of Western New York all these years. And I know next year we're going to come out with a great tribute to you that's physically active. We're going to do a huge walk in your honor, and we're going to benefit the great people at the Wellness Institute to keep the whole program alive. So thank you, Phil, for your many years of service to Western New York. From me, Paul Maurer, I really appreciate it. Bye, Phil.
Hi, I'm Russ Kingsbury. I'm the Executive Director of Youth Advantage Buffalo. And I just want to say that over the last 20 years, we've been working with Philip Haberstro, and we've been able to have over 1,000 kids every year involved in physical activity, whether it be basketball, flag football, soccer, Be Active Kids, West New York Walks, all types of events that Phil sponsored. Thousands of kids have been involved in physical activity. None of this happens without the help of Phil Haberstro. He's been an encourager, a support, a mentor, and he's just been a boots on the ground guy, and we love him, and we're gonna miss him. Thank you.
Fitness. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Byron W. Brown, Mayor of the City of Buffalo, join family and friends of Philip L. Haberstro in celebration of his outstanding work and legacy, and do hereby proclaim September 26th, 2020, which also happens to be National Family Health and Fitness Day USA, as Philip L. Haberstro Day in the city of Buffalo. And may God bless you and the great city of Buffalo.